Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to On the Bright Line podcast, tales from recovering food addicts from the perspective of a physician, a therapist, and an off-the-wall storyteller. We are not affiliated or endorsed by Brightline Eating, and all content presented in this podcast represents our personal opinions and does not represent medical, nutritional, or psychological professional advice. On today's episode, we are going to talk about supportive partners, supportive family, supportive friends. We've talked about support within the community. Now we're going to kind of talk about support outside the community, and especially with people who are not doing BLE. They may know about it because you're doing it. They may have a frame of reference for it, but then they are not subscribing or, working the plan. And so therefore, maybe we can give some tips and tricks on how to convey our need for support, what support, what good support may look like, what maybe not so good support may look like. And so we're going to call this the Robin episode because I think a lot of this is going to come from her background of, psychology and how really best to make this work for you in your life, in your program, no matter what your situation is. And so, we want to put it out there that we understand that Bonny's situation is that she lives with somebody who's doing BLE. So for her, it's pretty much contained within their house. They don't really have to think about it when they're in the house. Me, I started the program doing it on my own, just me with a husband and two children that ate the way they ate. My husband has now come online and has been doing some work, not eating flour and sugar. And so we are, we're moving that direction and doing it together, which does make life a lot easier, but our kids still, and obviously I'm not looking for support for my children. That's not what I'm looking for. But I did start this program with a partner that was not, he just wasn't doing BLE and didn't really know much about it other than what I told him. So, Robin?
Yeah, so this would be a great episode to send to the people in your life that are not dialed into BLE so that they might be able to understand what support looks like or what maybe a little bit of what to say, what not to say, right?
And I do want to say too, if you're part of the BLE community, Susan's community, there is a video that she has to send to friends and family. There's a friends and family video that describes what BLE is and in short, why, the person in your life has chosen this. So, obviously we are not the only resource. We're not trying to claim that at all, but this may be if you, from Robin's perspective, or, all of our perspective, how to ask for support and what good support might look like. So,
yeah. So one of the things we were talking about earlier that I love to talk about is the drama triangle. And I'll have something on my Instagram page, True Creeks Counseling, about that. So on the drama triangle, there's 3 points because it's a triangle. So the unhealthy versions of that point are victim, rescuer, and persecutor, right? And I think when we are struggling in the program, I think there can be a tendency for our partners to go to either rescuer or persecutor, right? And rescuer can sound a couple of different ways, right? A rescuer might sound like, oh, honey, this is so hard. You don't really need to do that, right? Maybe a little enabling. Persecutor might sound like, you're not supposed to be eating that, right? Right? Have either of you ever experienced people supporting you on the program?
Clay and I have persecuted each other.
Oh, really?
And I think we've also enabled each other.
Right.
pre-BLE or post-BLE?
Both.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Both.
Yeah.
So I'll talk about the persecutor. He's doing a bite, liquor, taste or whatever. And I'm like, why? You're not supposed to do that. And I kind of have to catch myself. We set our ground rules early with this. and we've really done this all our lives, and we've tried to, but we don't follow it well,
You're
right? Because we're human.
being.
But we've tried to say, like, you do you, and this is already hard enough for me to do. It's
Yeah.
not my job to police you.
Right.
Yeah.
He will tend to do just fix it for whatever, I'll eat it. Like when we first started this, I don't need to know about the program. Just tell me what to eat and I'll eat it with
Right.
you.
Oh, this
Right.
sounds so
Oh,
familiar.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Right.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to carry you through
That's
this.
right.
I can
Right.
barely carry myself through
Yes.
this, right? So we've
Yep.
kind of come to like, I'm not going to tell you what to do, and you're not going to tell me what to do because I will push back so hard, I will blow it just to spite you. My
Right.
rebel part will come out screaming. So we've really tried to set that ground, but I still find myself doing it, and I notice I do it when I'm feeling weak, and then he's doing the cheat, and I'm like, you're cheating, and it's really like because I'm worried.
projecting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, we are in maintenance. And so we have certain things that we've allowed for ourselves. And one of them is like, on occasion, we'll have non-fat, dairy-free milk with no sugar in it. And we'll add cocoa powder to it. There's no sugar. It's
Right.
not, it's not like a hot chocolate
Yeah,
used to be, but that's like a thing we'll have on occasion. But it's like when it's not a day where we should be having that, or we didn't plan to have that,
Right.
which is
Right.
the whole thing with this program, right? You decide what you're going to eat, whether you write it down or whatever, you make a plan, and then you only eat the things that you said you were going to eat.
Right.
So it'll be like, I want to go off plan and have that. So I'm like, do you want me to make you a hot cocoa? It wasn't even, I mean, how crappy is that? But we totally will do that. And then it's
Yeah.
like, well, yeah,
Yeah.
So we do both things on that drama triangle for
Right.
sure, and we're human and it happens.
Absolutely.
Even though we're really working hard we're in maintenance and we're doing fine with it.
Yeah.
But we still have those struggles, and it depends on how stressed I am and whatever, which of those will come out.
Yeah.
Right. And I think sometimes having that language to be able to identify like, oh, yep, I'm totally going to persecutor, or yep, I jumped right into rescuing you and, counting your food for you and right? The cool thing is that there are healthy versions of each of those, right? That instead of being a victim, if I am a survivor, if I go into my place of strength of, I might be struggling, but I'm going to figure out how to get through this. So the healthy version of rescuer is coach, right? That might mean I turn to you and go, okay, what do you want to do about what you're going to eat today?
Yeah.
How do you want support in planning XYZ? Where can I support you in this part of the program, right?
Yeah.
The healthy version of persecutor is challenger, right? That might mean that I turn to you and say, Bon, you didn't plan to do the cocoa today. Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
Tell me why you're picking that,
Yeah.
right? And it can be a struggle to kind of find that language because I think in our lives, oh man, all of us know the rescuer language, right? And we think that's a kindness. We think we're being supportive. Oh, it's too hard for you. It's okay. Don't do the thing if it's too hard, right? That
Right.
enabling language. It's everywhere in our culture.
Yeah.
And we think of it as being kind, being gentle, being supportive, when it's really not. It's really sabotaging other people and not holding them accountable.
And you can move from challenger to persecutor really quickly.
Yeah.
And I think like we
Yeah.
try to balance that. So on a good day, instead of being like, you're not supposed to have bite, slicks, and taste, what are you
Right.
doing?
Right.
I'm just like, hey, I'm just letting you know, like, we agreed not to do that.
Right.
What's going on with you?
Right.
And then I'm like, but you do you. And then
Right.
like walk away. Right.
Right.
And it's like, I'm just helping you to like keep,
Right.
we're keeping each other accountable.
Right.
But I'm not the boss of you. And
Yep.
I'm not going to tell you what to do because that can just trigger the rebel part,
Yep.
and then he'll stuff 2 more bites in. It's like, that's
Yep.
what I'm doing. Right. So it's like, there's such a
Yep.
fine line.
Oh no.
Of that. Yeah.
100%.
And some of that, right? Some of learning, especially if you're doing it with someone, learning the language that they would like you to use, right? And so pre-negotiating that. So in a nice, calm, neutral moment, going to your partner and saying, you're like, when did those occur, right? But in a calm, neutral moment, turning to your partner and saying, so when I notice you doing a bite lick taste or this or that, What words can come out of my mouth that you're going to be okay hearing so that I can help truly support you
Yeah.
in this, right? And because it's both wonderful and awful, because then when the other person says those words to you, you're like,
That you told them to.
You
I
told me to do
told
that,
you
but
to say
don't
that.
want
I
you to.
gave you permission to say that, right? It, like I said, it is both wonderful
Yeah.
and difficult, but it feels so much better than when those persecutor words come out of their mouth, right?
Yeah, and I think for me, when my husband decided that he wanted to start eating this way, because I have a very strong controller part, which I know is very surprising to some people, because I also have a very
Shocking.
strong rebel part. But the controller part loves the lines and loves
Yeah.
to stick, loves sticking to a program,
Yeah.
likes the prescription of like, this is what we do. And I can check all the boxes and it makes me feel really good inside that I did that, so that's my controller part. And so when my husband says, well, just tell me what to do, I'm like, I don't wanna, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I was just like,
Yeah.
that's gonna make me nuts to have to control your program
Yeah.
and my program. I was like, I cannot do that. And so we had that discussion very early on.
Yeah.
And more to me, it's been like, I've just kind of been hands off. I'm like, I remember, because he's not a BLE member, but like I wrote down like, these are the, for your, for the enhanced protein, blah, blah, blah. Like, here's and here's some options and that sort of thing. And I've really hands off it, because I think that's the only way that I've been able to just be sane about it. And I'm like, I try really hard and I do some of that. Like, I'll like look over at his food and be like, well, what are you doing over there? But I'm like, you know what, Meagan? It's his, like and even like with, my master,
The BLE program says keep your eyes
on your own plate. Absolutely. And like, even with my mastermind group members, like we'll talk about stuff and then I'll start to get like, I'll get that like judgy,
Right.
it's not the challenger. It's the
Persecutor.
persecutor. I'll get that. I'll go there. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, Meagan, like people need to do what they need to do. And so I think, like this is it's an amazing reminder to, that I Rob and I, we've all talked about this with the drama triangle is something that, she uses regularly. And I love the imagery of the triangle and those 3 points and how it can be flipped to a positive and, and how we can live in that, in that positive world as long as we frame our mind that way. So I really appreciate that, that sentiment.
And one thing that you had brought up, right, when sometimes our partners or friends or whoever will say, just tell me what to do, that speaks to mental load, right?
Oh gosh,
right?
That's a whole nother podcast.
It is, and let's make sure that we get to that in another one, because all you have to do is Google mental load, and a lot of that will come up. And I use the language of kind of keep your feet on your own path. Of, is this mine to manage or is that theirs to manage? Because if it's not yours to manage, keep your feet on your own frickin' path.
And you know what? With addiction, you are not going to heal unless you take the yoke onto your own self to heal yourself.
Yep.
There is nothing somebody can say or do for you that will make you truly healed from your addiction. You could lock somebody up in jail and take their drugs and alcohol away, but you have not made them a recovered alcoholic or recovered drug addict, right? Until someone decides to do it for themselves. So enforcing that on anybody else, even if you're doing it out of love or because you think it's good for them, trying to run their program for them is an exercise in futility. It will breed horrible resentment and ruin your relationship, and it will not fix that person or help that person.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that idea. But I think for a lot of people, the idea of control makes them feel comfortable.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Raising my hand again.
Same. Right. And if I can just control what you're eating,
Everything's gonna be
then
okay.
it's going to be okay. But we're doing that person a disservice, that they are never actually learning to do it for themselves.
Yep.
Right. That if I keep you sober by hiding the alcohol from you, you're never really sober.
Nope.
Yeah, you're just a dry drunk.
You're hanging on by a thread.
Well, and I think the discussion could also be had that if someone else is, I don't know how we got on this because this is not about support, it's about other people doing the program, but if someone else's program is hanging on you depending on you,
Yeah.
they're not actually doing right. Like they're not,
And you're not actually supporting them.
right. Absolutely. That's not supportive. That's enabling, right?
Yep.
Like, let's go back to
Controlling.
that. So
Sure.
controlling, enabling, that sort of thing. So I think, the reality is that like, yeah, keep your eyes on your own plate. That's 100%. I mean, 100% agree with keep your eyes on your own plate. But also, like, there is no BLE police, and I have to remind myself on the regular, there is no BLE police. This is my life. This is the way that I choose to do my program. Other people may choose to do their program completely differently than me. And hey, that's okay. And I could be supportive of that. You know what I mean? Like, I can be supportive of the way that others choose to do their program. So
let's talk about how you initiate dialogue. You're new to BLE
Yeah.
and your partner maybe doesn't even have food addiction.
Right.
And, let's presume that you don't have any marital problems and they're actually interested in supporting you. We all have, you know what I mean? And there's no
Yeah.
other layers of their own past trauma that are going to interfere with their ability to help you.
Yeah.
How do you initiate, and this is for you, Robin, how do you start to initiate that conversation as you're embarking on this that you need to do for yourself, but that you need them to understand and be on board with?
So I like 4-step communication, right? And so that sounds like there's 4 different sentences. So if you have a piece of paper, write down, I feel, next line, when you, next line, and the story I tell myself about that is, next line, and the vulnerable request I would like to make is, right? So if I said, I feel controlled and powerless when you tell me exactly what I should or shouldn't be eating. And the story I tell myself about that is that you think I can't do this. And so the vulnerable request that I would like to make is that you speak to me, use these words to me instead of these words. Right. And the beauty of that 4-step communication is you can use it for just about anything.
Yeah.
And I will say, I have found that when we are really triggered about something, when we are feeling really big emotions about something, that's not always the time to be having those conversations. That we may need to kind of take a beat, step away, self-regulate, and then come back and maybe even kind of write that out a little bit to say, what is it that I am feeling about this, so that I can really talk to my partner and really ask them for what it is that I actually need that's going to be helpful.
And that's a really good journaling exercise. And journaling is something that's definitely touted in the program a lot, a lot. And so I think that's a good journaling exercise for sure. So.
And I think this prompt can be used for family members too.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I know a lot of people put, I come, and we've talked about, I have some eating disorders in my family, and even though that, when I've gone to visit my mom, she's like, let me know what food will work for you. I get that kind of support,
that's
which is
lovely.
from everybody in my life. I have not, I read about these things in the Facebook community inside BLE, and people just, they go to the family event and the family members are trying to get them to eat the stuff off plan. Just some really weird sabotagey stuff. So I think this kind of communication can help. And one, again, not in the middle of that drama when someone's projecting their whatever onto you, but when you're otherwise separate and can talk to them in a calm manner, or way before the event. Like, when I'm at a family event with you, Mom, you want to show your love by giving me food. The way that makes me feel is that you're trying to sabotage my program, not show me love. And the vulnerable request I have for you is, can we come to an agreement about, some things that maybe you want to bring that I can eat, so you can share that love, or maybe that you can feel comfortable with me bringing my own food. Or something like that, because I think that's a big, it's a big discomfort. And, maybe that language can open up the avenue for some other conversations with that person that are underpinning their, their need to sabotage you.
Yeah.
Well, and I think advocacy, I think that's to me, it's a huge theme that I've found. And it's been really amazing. I've never had a problem advocating for myself. I'm sure that that's surprising. We're laughing. It's not surprising, but I don't have a problem advocating for myself or for those I love. Like, I'm normally really good about advocating for people. I have seen transformations of people within this program where they will get to a place where they are finally comfortable advocating for themselves in whatever that situation is. And normally it's around food, obviously, because that's, that's what we're focused on with BLE. But I just want to encourage people, like, you have every right to do the advocacy in this way for yourself. You can take up the space that it takes to say, this is what I need. And there is nothing wrong with that. It does not make you selfish. It does not make you, wrong. It makes you someone who is protecting their program at all costs. And I will tell you, I have made that choice. I've made that choice in my life that I'm going to protect my program at all costs. And because I value it that much. It's like a diamond ring, you're obviously not going to go bury your diamond ring in the dirt, or, you're going to take it off when you go garden, right? I mean, looking at my two gardening friends, I don't know anything about this, but you're going to protect the things that are valuable in your life, to the measure at which you value them. And so for me, it's like, this program is so valuable to me in making sure that I can stay within the lines and keep my food sanity, right? Not have that food chatter anymore. Is makes it worth it for me to have those conversations and to be my own advocate. So I think that you have to ask. I think that that's really the bottom line, is that you have to tell people what you need too.
Yeah. Yep.
Because and my husband and I have this conversation all the time. Like, I can't read his mind and he can't read my mind. We try and we fail miserably, but like, we don't know what's going on in other people's heads. And I think that's why that 4-step is so important, because it goes through, like, this is the story I tell myself, which a lot of times is the complete opposite of what's really going on. If you're having an honest conversation with someone, they'll be like, well, that's not at all what I, know, and that's not what I meant. And, all this kind of stuff.
I've seen people post a lot, and this, just bringing this back to your partner communication. I've seen people post that my partner said, you failed on all these other programs, this one's going to fail too, which sounds super mean.
Yeah.
So mean, right?
Yeah.
But you hear it a lot. And I think what that's probably really being driven by is, I love you, and I'm so tired of seeing you on this cycle where you set yourself up and fail, and it's so horrible when you fail. I don't want to do it again, so why don't we just not do that?
Let's not do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and so that's where this 4-step communication can come in, where you can kind of express, like, what the story I'm telling myself is actually that you're trying to protect me, because you know that I'm, you don't want to see me fail and be hurt, but here's what I need, right? And so I think recognizing that even when something comes across sounding as mean, it really could just be out of frustration,
right?
Protectiveness.
And if,
I don't want to see you struggle with the
and
shame.
I don't want to go through it, right? You could put me through we throw
Yeah.
out all the food, and then we do this, we do the cabbage diet, and nobody can eat anything except, and it's like, and then you relapse anyway. And so what's the point of all this? Like, you're putting everybody through a lot, right? So I just think, communication with your partner is critical. And at the very least, if you can at least convince them to just not be a barrier, right? If they're not on board with what you're doing, and they don't want to do it either, and they don't need to do it or whatever, at the very least you can get is just, I totally get it. And please, you eat your food that you want to eat, and just don't bring it up to me, and just let me do my thing. I mean, that would be the very least thing that you might want, all the way up to, like, how are other ways that you can support me or whatever. So.
Yeah, and I think we all assume that we know exactly what someone means when they say XYZ. We think we know exactly what people mean. We don't. All the studies show that we actually stink at it. And so being willing to just be curious about, what do you mean when you say, I failed at all the other programs? What is it that you're really trying to tell me with that? Being willing, right? Curiosity is absolutely fabulous to just approach when my partner says XYZ, can I simply be curious about what do you mean by that? Tell me a little more.
Yeah.
Right? Because 9 times out of 10, when they sit and kind of explain themselves a little bit, it's like, oh, you mean something completely different from what I thought it was that you were trying to tell me with that one sentence.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I do want to give a huge shout out to my husband and how supportive he's been. Because I've had I know Bonny and Clay do this together, but even before my husband was doing BLE, he cooks, dinner for me every night. And so he made sure that I had what I needed for this program, even when he wasn't eating this way. So, I think that even spouses who are not on the program can be supportive. I don't think that it's necessary for them to be doing the program alongside you to be supportive. And everybody's going to have a different level of that, a different measure of that, and not everybody has the situation that I have, but I encourage people to, just say what you need, ask for what you need. That's what I did. That was the first conversation we had when I started BLE. I said, this is what I need. I need you to make me a protein and a vegetable at dinner. That's what I need you to do. And if you can do that for me, then we're golden. And he did. And so, again, I don't have an issue advocating for myself. I know that it's hard for other people. So, some other people, not everybody, but I do just encourage people to advocate for themselves and ask for what you need.
And so that could almost be like the bonus prize of BLE is learning to find your voice a little bit more.
Yeah, and I've seen the transformation in some people, and it's it's really amazing to see people come to a place where they will begin to advocate for themselves in that way. And you hear the stories in the BLE community. I was surprised. I asked for this thing, and I got the thing that I asked for, and I was surprised by that. And I think that reinforces. I mean, I think work situations are hard for a lot of people, like going into a work situation where you're like, I know there's going to be food and I don't want to be the bother and but it's like, but you're, again, it's like you have to advocate for yourself and protect your program. So, anything else that any other tips or tricks about support from spouses or partners or family? Okay. And now we're going to do our usual. If you have any questions and you would like us to talk about a topic, or you just want to know why the sky is blue, we're going to have Bonny answer that one. Right. I'm just kidding. You can email us on thebrightlinepodcast@gmail.com or hit us up on any of our social media outlets, DM, whatever you're comfortable with. But we'd love to hear your questions and we'd love to get that on the show. Thanks so much, guys. We'll talk to you next time.